For more than 50 years, Fluevog Shoes has been a trailblazer in the world of fashion, creating shoes that are not just footwear but works of art. Known for its innovative designs and distinctive flair, the brand has captured the hearts of shoe lovers worldwide. What many may not know, however, is that its founder, John Fluevog, and other members of his family have faced personal challenges related to dyslexia along their journey. John, the founder of Fluevog Shoes, and his son Adrian, the current CEO, have graciously agreed to share their story with us. John, Adrian, welcome to the Market Red Podcast.
Oh, you're welcome. It's great to be here. Thanks for having us.
Now, John, you've faced a lot of challenges in your business life. You oversee many, many stores right across the world right now. But as a child, you had a very big challenge, and that was dealing with dyslexia.
Well, I didn't know it was dyslexia because nobody told me. All I knew was that I couldn't transfer information from one page to another, and I didn't even know it was that. All I knew was that I got straights, E's, and D's on my report cards, and it was, oh, John doesn't try hard enough. John needs to put in more effort. It's like, So I grew up thinking I was less than. I'm not going to say I didn't think I was smart because I had street smarts, but I didn't have academic smarts, and I really couldn't do things. So I had to worked around that. I wouldn't even say I worked around it. I just got into a profession where what I've thought of emotionally and artistically were important, and how I got rated, whether I could transfer information or remember numbers, wasn't as important, because obviously at the end of the day I hired people to do that. So, but yeah, it was huge for me, and particularly, I grew up in the 50s and the 60s, and at that time I don't think that word even existed, or if it did, I didn't know about it.
So how did that affect your school life?
Well, I thought I was stupid. What else can I say? I didn't think I was very smart, and I didn't feel I was good as, and I felt insecure, and so I acted out.
To jump in, you also did not really complete high school.
I never finished.
And there was no post-secondary education.
I don't think I went to grade 12 twice, and I don't think I ever graduated.
So you didn't graduate high school then?
I think I graduated what's called a general program. I may have, but I couldn't get into university, and that's actually how I got in the shoe business, because I couldn't do anything else. I ended up working in the shoe store.
Working in the shoe store as a salesman?
Yep. And that's how I started in the shoe business. Yeah.
So what was it about shoes that drew you in?
Nothing particularly, other than the fact that it was fashion orientated, and it was sales. I was good at sales because I would say I'm personable, and I got reasonably good social skills. So that's just where I started, and sort of like, be careful what you start; you might end up doing it the rest of your life. And that's what happened. And I think throughout my life, it's been, running I'm an entrepreneur in a reasonably small business on the scheme of things, and it's been very challenging for me just to stay in business. So it's kept me at it. I've been doing it now for 54 years, 55 years, I guess. And it's a bit of a feat, because not many other fashion retailers of footwear have been in business that long.
That's very true. How honest, I guess, have you been with people or the people you've been doing business with about the fact that you have dyslexia? Has it ever kind of come up or gotten in the way of you wanting to do anything?
Well, I don't walk up to people and say, hey, I got dyslexia. And I don't meet people at the factories and stuff and go, hey, I got dyslexia. No, I never tell anybody. I just, I'm just careful about I have to be careful about when it comes to transferring things on paper and things, I have to really make sure that I get it correct, because I have to look at it 2 and 3 times, because at the first glance, it won't be right. And I have to go back and look at it. I just skip things and miss things. And I have to go back and ensure that, after the third look at it, I might get it mostly right, but not entirely right, but that's okay.
Have you done any sort of programming to try to improve your dyslexia, or have you just worked on it on your own?
No, I've never done anything. I've just gone with it. At this point in time, it's not going to change much. And knowing that I have it, it was a bit of a relief to know that because at the same time, I do believe that I sharpened up other areas of my life. I've got more emotional intelligence than a lot of people. I've sharpened that up, and so it's a yin and a yang. I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't say, oh, if I came back again, had another go at life, I wouldn't necessarily say I want to get rid of it, because it's also been a blessing.
I guess that gets back to that kind of workaround aspect of things. If you weren't able to work with the reading and writing aspect of it, then you were able to kind of focus your energies elsewhere and maybe find those talents that you wouldn't have known otherwise.
Yeah, I never knew I could draw, basically, until I was in my mid-30s, believe it or not. So I didn't even know I was artistic, because I didn't grow up in an artistic family, and it wasn't something that I pursued. And I sort of had to become artistic, and I had to start drawing because I had to start putting product out that to compete in the marketplace. And so I just started doing it. And I think life is like that. You just you adapt to what you need to get done. I had to do it, and so I did it. And even though I'm at a disadvantage in many ways, I feel that my dyslexia pushed me to do things I never thought I could do. So my life has been a long journey of me finding out that I'm actually okay at stuff. I'm actually okay, period.
Now, we know genetics plays a big part in dyslexia, and Adrian is sitting beside you today. What was it like for you to realize that your son was going to have to deal with this as you have your whole life?
Well, I never quite believed he was as dyslexic as I was. And, I suppose, I don't think, believe it or not, I don't think I was as sympathetic towards him as I could have been, truthfully. Because, you get older, you forget what it's like to be a kid, right? And I couldn't imagine anybody being as bad at school as I was. So, and it's the same thing. Adrian is intelligent. And so why are you being a lazy ass at school? So I don't.
Now, Adrian, you're laughing.
Oh,
What are you telling us when you're laughing about?
Well, I'm laughing because I had the same struggles as my father. Like, honestly, I was terrible at school. They didn't diagnose me at school. The word got thrown around, but nobody did anything about it. I failed grade 12 too. I had to go get my good enough diploma as well, my GED. Same story. And it's just like, you went through this. You'd think you'd raise a parent hand for me a little bit,
yeah.
And that's why I'm laughing. Like, honestly, it's like a mirrored story of like what happened. And so it's pretty funny. We haven't talked about it that much, actually, which is, it's interesting to do this podcast because of that. So
Why haven't you guys talked about it?
That's an interesting question. It's just because it was there. It was never seen as an issue, it's like, oh, you have it. Okay, great. Or it's like, you're a great athlete. Okay, you're a great athlete. You know what I mean? It was just like a thing. It's like, yeah. And I don't think it's defined us as a people. You know, you don't consider yourself a dyslexic. I know I don't put labels on it. It's not like a thing. We should probably talk about it more. With my son, though, on the flip side, so he's going into grade 6. He recently got diagnosed with dyslexia, and I'm literally doing everything I can do for him to help him. There's way more resources nowadays than there were back then. So I'm like, you are not going to struggle in school like I did, like, because we can see him starting to struggle, and we're going to do all the resources that's available to help him. So I'm intrigued to see what's going to happen with him as it plays out.
Basically, you're telling me you're a better parent than I was.
Yeah, totally.
You learn from your mistakes.
Exactly. So, it's really interesting going through this with my son and learning how there's different levels of dyslexia, how they process information differently. And as I'm going this through my son, I'm looking like, that's me. You know, everything that they're saying it's me. It's interesting. It's been quite a learning journey, and I think it will continue to be so.
Well, I guess if you didn't feel like you got support when you were going through it as children yourself, at least you can feel like, you know, as father and grandparent, that you're there for them right now.
Exactly. Exactly. And I honestly think even me growing up, I'm 43, so, you know, late 80s, 90s, I don't think there was the resources that there is today. You know, they did not do what they're doing today. I don't think they had the knowledge or the skills, so I think it's a lot different.
Yeah, so basically, you know, there are things out there for Adrian's son, and if there is, we'll take them and we will do them, because I know if I had known, and if I had all the little tricks, as it were, and little ways of coping and dealing with dyslexia on a daily basis, there are things you can do, ways you can remember things. A camera is a great way too. Just little helps. But I've never, you know, getting back to it, I've never saw my dyslexia as a hindrance to me. It's never really stopped me from doing anything. It's just annoying sometimes. and I've gotten to a point where I don't really care so much if I don't care that I can't transfer stuff from one page to another, because I've been quite successful in my business career. And because of that, I'm going, well, I don't need to prove to anybody that I can do it. When you're in high school, when you're in school, and the only way that I got judged was whether I could transfer things from one page to another, I failed miserably. And I felt really stupid is the best word. I didn't feel smart. I felt like there was something really wrong with me. And now that I'm older and I know I can't transfer things, I don't care.
Well, maybe that had a lot to do with self-esteem.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it sounds like life is very challenging for children who have dyslexia.
Yeah, because they can't perform on the same level as other kids, but yet it's frustrating because they're not stupid, and they are not lesser in any way. They just can't perform in a certain milieu, a certain place and usually it's in the school system where they're being tested and having to transfer things from one page to another. And
you did a lot of transferring.
Yeah. So
yeah,
that's a problem. And that part would have been much better if I had a little different, if they had more knowledge. I know when Adrian went to school, he got a little compensation for it at the end, actually, when you went to BCIT.
That's correct.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So, I mentioned I struggled in high school, and when I was about 25, I decided I should go back to school. It's a good thing. So I went out to BCID to do their marketing entrepreneurship program. And, I had to write a test to get in, and they kind of looked at me. They're like, are you like dyslexic? I'm like, I think so. I've never been tested. I don't know. They're like, hold on. Like, and they test me. They're like, yeah, you're dyslexic. Basically from now on, like your spelling and your grammar, we won't test you on that. And here you go. You can pass your English. Let's go. You're into school. And all of a sudden I went into school, and all of a sudden I was getting like good grades. And I'd never had that in my life. And it was such a relief to get this like designation. And all of a sudden I was doing well at school because I'd never been academically successful. So that was a huge relief off my shoulders when that happened. And I was just like, it was like an aha moment. It's like, thank you. I'm not dumb, basically. I can do this. And so that was huge for me.
And so how have you progressed since then?
Well, I like my dyslexia. It's there. It's not terrible, and that's why I think you can kind of fly under the radar with it. And it's it's not terrible, but it's there, so it makes life hard. You just deal with it, and I guess I'm lucky in an era now. Obviously spell check came out. Now there's Grammarly, like that's saving my life. And then obviously you just do things that you're good at. Like John mentioned he's a people person. I'm a people person. I'm really good at talking to people. So I way rather pick up a phone or have a meeting than write a nice long email to somebody about it, because that's not my skill set, right? So you kind of know what your skill sets are, and you kind of work around those the best you can.
So knowing what you guys know now, what sort of message would you have for kids who are staring this down themselves right now?
Just self-confidence. No, it's your brain just processes information in a different way, and you're just going to have to figure out what that way is, acknowledge it, don't let it get you down, and kind of, find ways, find technologies, find skill sets that can get around that. And I think the big one is honestly the confidence. Just know that it's not you. Just because you don't fit in the box that most people fit in this box and they get graded on that, and you just fit slightly outside that box, that's totally okay. Like, it's good. And because of it, I think we are blessed with other skill sets, which is good. And I think those come out.
You definitely seem to be a bit of an orator for sure.
Yeah.
And how about you, John?
Well, I would say it is not a deficiency particularly. It is on a level, but not really, because you'll find that I think most dyslexic people think they have a broader way of thinking. I can hold a lot of different things in my mind. I can hold a lot of different areas, and I don't have trouble doing that. I don't need to complete things. A lot of people I know that they need to complete this. They need to do everything in rows and lines, and I don't need to do that. I can have 10 different projects going at once. Because when you think about running a small business, you think about marketing. You're thinking about the buying. You're thinking about the numbers of how many, what your product is. You think about product range. I'm thinking about all the designs I'm doing. I'm forecasting my designs. I'm dealing with the bankers. I'm dealing with, with all of the advertising. I'm doing all these multidisciplinary things, and I seem to be able to hold them all in my mind at once, or at least I could. And that made me successful. And I think that the dyslexia, my brain bounces around a bit more from one thing to another quite quickly. And it's an advantage to me.
You said that you haven't really had many discussions about dyslexia among the two of you, but we all know that kids can ask those uncomfortable questions sometimes that we're not ready for. I mean, I suppose if your child is in grade 6, that, they're not little kids right now.
Yeah.
But now that your own child has been diagnosed, have you sat down and had that conversation with them, Adrian?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. He's a very smart kid, very intelligent. But his teachers kind of noticed something a few years ago, and they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then at the beginning of this year, the teacher was like, yeah, no, he should be doing better than this. And unfortunately, it's not terrible, right? He got through till grade 5 just because he was an intelligent kid, and school starts getting a little harder. He found it harder. It's making him very frustrated because he's used to just being, top of the class, and he wasn't. He's like, what's going on with him? He started to hate school. And we got him tested, and sure enough, like, he came back dyslexic. And we're like, well, this explains it. We explained to him, like, this is what's going on. This is why you're finding spelling really hard. This is what's going on. And you know what? We're gonna you just learn different than other kids, and we're gonna adapt to your learning. And he nods his head, and he's excited about it because he doesn't want to be frustrated by spelling tests. He hates it. And we're like, no, we can get around this. So I think he's excited for the journey.
So I know that both of you have managed to find ways to be very successful, despite having dyslexia. But at the same time, I'm assuming that you were hopeful that you were not going to end up seeing that in the next generation again.
I don't know. It's not going to go away, right? It's going to be there. I have no idea what coping skills he's going to get. I don't know. So he might pass it down to his kids too. So I think society in a whole is learning more and more about it. The education system's learning more about it. And I guess when he's, 35, 40, we'll see what happens with him.
Yeah. When I was in elementary school and I knew I had a spelling test the next day, my thought would turn into maybe the school will burn down. I don't want to have to go.
That's the same thoughts he was having. Same thoughts. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess that didn't work out for you.
No. It was so humiliating and so frustrating.
Yeah, same thing. Got tummy ache every day at school that there was a spelling test. Yeah.
Have you gone back and seen or spoken to anyone that would have known either one of you when you were younger and you were feeling that vulnerability and the weight of it all, that now you're able to kind of say, hey, take a look at this?
No, I haven't. We haven't hardly even talked about it together. I haven't gone. I haven't seen it as a huge issue. Like, it's just always been there with you. It's always been on your back. You've just learned to cope with it. It is what it is. It's not affecting my day to day, I don't think. And so there's never been I've never gone back and looked at that. No, I don't think so.
Well, I remember, so just recently I was on a ferry and some guy walks up to me and goes, "Oh, you're John Fluevog." And I go, "Yeah." "Well, I'm so-and-so. And he said, "We went to school together." I said, "Oh, really? Okay." And he said, "Oh, well, I'm still in touch with some of these teachers." And he named his teacher. And he said, "Oh, that was a great teacher." And I'm looking at him, are you kidding me? So this teacher had us all lined up, had the class lined up in rows as to their performance on the exams. And I'm at the very end. I hated it. And he would just intimidate me and harass me. And yet here's this other kid who thought this was the best teacher ever that he had in grade 6. And me at the other end thinking this is the worst experience of my life, going with the same teacher. It's funny. So there you have it.
The one thing I do remember is it's a Spanish teacher. I took French that didn't really work out, so I tried Spanish, and the Spanish teacher pulled me aside and he goes, "Adrian, you should never learn a second language." Great. That's kind of like, it was the same story, just because I couldn't hold it. It just didn't work learning a second language for me. Kind of annoying, by the way. I wish I knew a second language. But yeah, my brain just couldn't process it. Didn't work.
I'd just really like to thank both of you guys for sharing your stories here today.
Yeah.
It sounds like it has been challenging at times for you, but you've certainly both managed to find ways to work around it and become very successful in life. and appear quite comfortable with it now.
It's good. I think my father touched on it briefly, but honestly, being, not good at school, it kind of give you a bit of a chip on your shoulder to prove yourself. You're like, no, I can go do this. And it gave me an extra get up and go power. Like I have to prove myself, like I am good at this. Like, let's go, let's excel. So I think it gave me, some extra steam in my tank, basically.
I'd agree.
Any final thoughts, John?
I'd agree with that. It spurred me on. It made me very proud that I excelled at something which every teacher I've ever had gone to, that I ever had in school, if they could see me now, because I was doomed for failure. So it's great.
Absolutely. Sounds great. John, I didn't mention this earlier on. This is kind of outside the podcast again. I have a lot of appreciation for you, not necessarily because of your shoes or what you do, as much as last year, one of my good friends at CBC retired, Kelly Dexter. She bought many, many pairs of your shoes here in Ottawa on the Byward Market. And you did a little video for her that we played at our retirement party.
I did.
And I thought that was pretty classy.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that was fun. I am so blessed to have people that, follow the brand, collect the shoes. And as you probably know, there's little stories and messages that I put into the shoes. And I have the freedom to do that. And hopefully I've used it in my life to put expressions of myself out there. Call it artistic expressions or spiritual expressions or just expressions of what I'm feeling. So I feel very blessed again to be able to have a career that I could do that.
Messages and shoes.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that you did that.
Yeah, I did.
And so where did that come? I mean, that seems like a strange kind of juxtaposition for a guy that doesn't read.
Yeah, I can read because it, I think when we're looking at objects or when we're consuming things or when we get attached to things, we don't get attached to them for one reason. They strike us on another level. And those levels are a deeper level of who we are and how we fit into the world and how we view the world. And I think that I put little moral messages or stories that have maybe double entendres, double meanings, that connect you to the creator, I will say, to the creative, to the greater world around us. So, and I think that's in part why my shoes are popular, because I do that. And they're not immediately obvious. You wouldn't walk in and go, oh, I know exactly what he's saying here. No, you have to sort of second guess. You look at them and go, oh, there's something going on here. So there's a story behind the story.
Maybe I could have expressed it a little bit better when I first said it, but it really does sound like, for a guy who has had such challenges with languages, then to fully embrace language as a way to get your own message out, your personal message. It seems pretty amazing.
Well, being dyslexic, I don't have a problem with language. I have a problem with form, I guess, or structure of the language. But in a way, I'm freer with language because I don't have that structure. I don't have this thing like, oh, it has to be exactly this way. Like I got total D's in all of my language courses, always.
You have your own form of grammar.
I have my own form of grammar, but I think it's kind of interesting, personally, because I'm seeing it from a different point of view, and I had the freedom to be able to do it.
because you're the boss.
Exactly. Aren't I so lucky?
Hey, guys, thanks again. This has been great. I appreciate your time.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Thank you.